Hey guys, and welcome back for another video. So no matter how long you've been playing the game, whether you are an active player or if you just watch Guild Wars 2 videos on YouTube, you've probably come across or will come across the term Fashion Wars 2. Now Guild Wars 2 has earned this title because the end game isn't so much about the best gear. Obviously you need to get better and better gear as you play, but that doesn't mean that there's this never-ending gear treadmill that you have to go through. And so what a lot of players do is, after a certain point, once they've maxed the gear out, they focus on, I imagine, player skill, but also how cool can they make all of their characters look. In this video, my goal is to help new players get up to speed with how skins or Fashion Wars works in Guild Wars 2, but at the same time, this is actually the beginning of my new series on YouTube, the Fashion Wars 2 series. I'll talk a little bit more about the specifics of that later, but for now, let's just get into Fashion Wars 2. Alright, so if you don't know anything about how skins work in Guild Wars 2, is that whether or not you've noticed, you've actually been unlocking them the whole time you've been playing the game. Every piece of weaponry or armor in Guild Wars 2 has a skin assigned to it. Whenever you equip, salvage, or destroy something, that skin is then added to your account wardrobe. And I did say account, which means you're gonna be able to have access to all of these skins on any other characters you play, further incentivizing collecting some of these. The skins themselves can be obtained a variety of ways, and depending on how long you've been playing the game, you might have a good idea of this, but just in case you want kind of a general idea, whenever you complete a heart, it becomes a vendor, so be sure to check those out, as there are a few exclusive skins you can get early on. If you take a good hard look at your achievements, you're going to realize that a lot of those have weapons or armor as the reward. Specific game modes like fractals, raids, dungeons, world versus world, and PvP all have associated currencies that you can then spend on weapons and sometimes armor. And as I said earlier, just by playing the game, you're bound to get some loot and unlock some skins along the way. So now that you have a pretty good idea of how to unlock these skins, we can talk about how to actually change your current appearance with some skins you've already unlocked. If you open the hero panel by pressing H and navigate to the wardrobe section, you'll be greeted with a panel that looks a lot like the equipment page, only when you click on an individual weapon or piece of armor, you'll notice that on the left-hand side you can see every skin that you've ever unlocked in that category. Once you've selected a few skins, if you look over on the right-hand side, you'll notice that for each of the skins that you've selected, the amount of an item called Transmutation Charges goes up by 1. Now, most weapons and armor are going to cost you just 1 Transmutation Charge, and this is going to be true in most cases, but there are actually a few items that are free to go ahead and change whenever you like. If you're happy with your decisions, you can go ahead and press apply, and those skins will now be applied. Now again, depending on how long you've been playing the game, you might have the question, well, what is a transmutation charge and how do I get that? Transmutation charges can be acquired a variety of ways, both in and out of the gem store. In game, you can get a few if you do your daily login reward. If you own a paid account or have bought an expansion, you'll have access to the daily login rewards. While I highly recommend getting this reward once per day, even if you're not going to play the game for that day, it's not the best way to go about getting these charges, as you only get 3 of these charges for your 26th login. It's also part of a 28-day cycle, so you're actually going to need to log in 28 more times each time you want 3 more transmutation charges. If you play a little bit of the competitive parts of Guild Wars 2, then you're probably already familiar with PvP or world versus world reward tracks, but if not, when you enter competitive mode, you can select a reward track. This is a great way to give PvE rewards in competitive modes, but along the way, as you progress these reward tracks, you will get a few transmutation charges as well. Now, I know competitive isn't for everybody, and if you're more or less a person that just likes to play PvE, you can actually get a few of these by completing achievements. Now, not specifically as a reward for achievements, although I'm sure there's 1 or 2 out there that are going to give you a few transmutation charges. What I'm talking about here is the cumulative amount of achievement points you have. So as you play the game, you're going to be earning achievement points for doing certain types of content, and after enough time, you're going to hit some milestones, and the game will give you a chest. As a random drop from those chests, you can sometimes get a few more charges, but it's going to require about 500 achievement points to get the next chest, and so this isn't really the greatest method either. Now, I do have a preferred and favored method that was actually mentioned in the comments on a video a while back, but I want to talk about how charges work in the gem store real quick, and we'll move on to that. If you press O and go to the gem store, you can see that you can actually just buy transmutation charges outright, and they're not incredibly expensive. Also, every now and again, they have bundles on the gem store, like a getting started bundle or a new character bundle. A lot of times those are gonna have transmutation charges bundled in with them. With some of the recent changes to Black Lion chests, you can now get statuettes every time you open one, and the statuettes themselves are actually a sort of currency. I covered this in the video that I made when they actually added this system, so if you're new and you want to know how those Black Lion chests actually work, go ahead and check that out. But I really didn't talk in any kind of depth about the rewards, one of which being a transmutation charge. I'm not sure if this new system is a permanent change to the game or just something they're trying out, but right now, if you have any of those statuettes, you can actually get 2 charges for just 1 statuette. Now, I've gone through the majority of ways to obtain these, and you might notice the common theme that they're not all that lucrative, or at least not all that farmable. I only mention these to be thorough, but also to let you guys know the other ways that you can get transmutation charges if this final method becomes a little too grindy for you. And with that, let's move on to my favorite method, which is just to map complete every racial starting city over and over and over and over again. Every time you reach 100%, you're gonna get the map chest, and every single time you're gonna get a few transmutation charges. What I typically do is just save a character slot solely for this. Create a character, explore all the starting zones, get all the charges, delete the character, and start this process all over again. Needless to say, you probably want something to watch or some music to listen to in the background, because after you do this a few times, it's going to get a little old. Not that these maps become any less beautiful, it's just that you're literally doing the same thing over and over again. Just keep in mind that you usually only get about 1 charge for completion, and if you have, say, 6 pieces of gear and we'll say 3 weapons, it adds up really quick. As a more general point, if you ever want to see all the skins in the game, head over to the nearest bank and you should see a wardrobe tab on the left side, and you can now see all of the skins in the game. Skins that you own will show up in full color, while the other ones are going to be grayed out, and by right-clicking any skin, you can go to preview and see what it looks like on your character. Also, as sort of just a quick side tip that I took way too long to realize for myself, if you hover over a piece of gear and look towards the bottom, it'll actually tell you if that skin's already been unlocked for your account. Depending on how you're going about getting skins, this isn't a really big deal, but let's say you're on the trading post, you want a particular weapon or armor to have a better skin. Just by hovering your mouse over each one of those items, you'll be able to see which ones you have for your account. For the skins you can purchase this way, it prevents you from spending any money that you don't need to spend on skins you already have. Anyway guys, that's pretty much it for the video, but I do want to talk a little bit more about this Fashion Wars 2 series thing that I'm trying to do. The way that I'm doing this is if you're curious about how to get a skin and you want a video on that, feel free to leave down in the comments the name of the skin that you would like, and I will try my best to get to everyone that I can. That being said, please keep in mind that I have to make a video out of this, so no legendaries or anything that takes an incredible amount of time to complete. I will eventually cover how to get legendaries in the most general sense, as these take tons of time to complete, but it really wouldn't be practical for me to try and make guides on how to get legendaries when I don't actually have one yet on my account at all. But anyway guys, I hope someone out there found this helpful. For those of you guys out there who didn't know about completing the maps in the racial cities, are you gonna start doing that, or does that just sound like the worst time? Anyway guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.